Stranger Things is one of the better shows made by Netflix. After 3 very fruitful seasons, we are all waiting for season 4 so that we can binge watch it in one day, and then wait another year or 2 for season 5. The series is very entertaining, and one of the reasons is because of its attention to detail. Everything is well researched, and the feeling the show conveys strikes home due to this. One of the important factors in Stranger Things is the prosthetics and costumes they use. We're about to tell you more. Enjoy. These are the Stranger Things prosthetics and costumes you need to know about. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. Prosthetics for Stranger Things. Showrunners, the Duffer brothers, were of the opinion that Stranger Things would rely more on practical effects than special effects. That sets the scene for actors going through hours of makeup and discomfort. Here are some examples. Billy's 33 prosthetics wounds. Dacre Montgomery as Billy Hargrove spent a lot of time going through the physical grind placed on him because of the physical nature of his character and the Mind Flayer's interactions with him. This led to plenty of wounds, all put on his body by the makeup department. As suggested, there were no CGI or special effects for Billy. At the time when Billy had his most wounds, Dacre was sporting 33 prosthetics at the same time. All that had to be applied in one day. Then it had to be recreated for his stunt doubles as well. At one point, the makeup department was applying 99 wound prosthetics in one day. At one point, Dacre's arm actually got stuck to the lunch table from the glue they were using. There was a point where 11, Millie Bobby Brown, had a knee injury. Her scenes could not be shot, so it was decided to shoot Billy's scenes earlier. All of a sudden, Dacre was in the makeup chair much sooner than he expected to be. Apparently, the makeup artist did not yet even know where his wounds were supposed to be on his body yet. Some of his wounds were actually real. After his shower scene, when they removed all his makeup and prosthetics, Billy found his body covered in scrapes and cuts. He had gotten so into the scene that he actually hurt himself. Billy's tattoo. One of the characteristics of Billy was his tattoo and the scar on his right shoulder. Again, Dacre found himself in the makeup chair for many hours. Then when the day ended, he had to sit for another 2 hours while makeup artists would remove his prosthetics. He even wore a prosthetic to cover his facial hair shadow. Apparently, he wore the prosthetic so often that he noticed his body hair was not even growing back anymore. Billy's flayed look. Another thing that Dacre will remember was how they achieved the flayed look he had to have during his time with the Mind Flayer. To achieve this glossy look, the makeup department used lots of lip gloss, followed by the dirt and veins, and then they would apply more lip gloss. Demogorgon. Imagine doing the scenes with the Demogorgon using only practical effects. Season 1 required the minimum special effects. Mark Steger is the actor who wore the Demogorgon prosthetic suit. The suit was difficult to see or hear in and was not comfortable. Steger said that his suit reminded him of why he enjoyed film so much. In the later seasons, the Duffer brothers would use CGI more. Steve's beat up face. Steve Harrington, played Joe Curie, had to have prosthetics applied for the day when he was beaten up. To make things worse, Curie was so sick that day. To achieve the desired effect, he had menthol blown in his eyes as well. Imagine being sick, sitting in a makeup chair for hours, and then having them blow menthol in your eyes. His prosthetics included a swollen jaw, cuts, a split lip, and blood. The makeup artist responsible for all of this is Amy L. Forsyth, who even shared her methods on social media. The possession of Will. When Will, Noah Schnapp, had to go through his possession scene, he had a tough time. His transformation meant he had to put himself in a dark space and wear things like black contact lenses. On screen, the scene also looked like it was filmed in a hot room, but Noah said it was filmed in the middle of winter. The heaters they used in the scene did not really heat up, so the room was quite cold. To make things worse, all that screaming made his voice disappear. Nancy's makeup. Natalia Dyer, who plays Nancy, said she had to wear so much makeup on set that she developed acne. The solution? More makeup. Of course, Natalia did not receive makeup to make her look like she had been in a fight. They just wanted her to look different. Mind Flayer hatching from 11's leg. One of the cringiest scenes in Stranger Things was probably when a Mind Flayer hatched from 11's leg. The wound was done using makeup and prosthetics. The Mind Flayer was added post-production. Fortunately for Millie, she had a prosthetic leg for the scene. The makeup department did months of research to make the gray leg look as realistic as possible. 11 in the void. Brown says that filming the scenes in the void shook her to her core, both emotionally and physically. She gave everything she had. Physically, it was difficult because her wardrobe was not made for how cold the set was, especially since a lot of water was involved. One of the art directors said that what most of us did not know was how freezing cold Brown was on set that day. The SFX people tried to heat it, but because it was so shallow, it lost its heat rapidly. The costumes of Stranger Things. Stranger Things has a lot going on at almost all times, but at moments, we could focus on nothing but the outfits. Those bright colors and bold prints and short shorts, and even those sailor hats both perfectly fit in with the scenery and stood out in kind of a perfect way. Here are some examples. Hopper's shirt. I make no secret of the fact that Hopper's pink and green pattern shirt is an actual obsession of mine. You can now buy a version of it online, but the one from the show was custom made. We found the fabric kind of buried in an old fabric shop in Los Angeles called International Silks and Woolens and bought rest of their yardage and then made the shirts. Costume designer Amy Paris said. Another shirt that already fit David Harbour was used as a template, and 5 different shirts had to be made due to all the various levels of distress Hopper and his shirt go through during the show. There's definitely a moment that we knew we could run out of fabric, but luckily we didn't, Paris says. Out of all the many shirt fabric choices the team had, this one was chosen for those bright colors. For some reason, it worked with Hopper. Eleven's wardrobe journey. In terms of colorful outfits, 11 was perhaps the brightest of all after she gave herself a little bit of a style makeover with help from Max. 11's new look. A major departure from the hand-me-downs and flannels she was wearing before, carried through the rest of the season, giving us some of the best looks of all. That new style was a collaboration between Paris and Millie Bobby Brown. I really relied on Millie's opinion for that because we both didn't know what 11's new style would be, you know? And she has lived the character for 2 seasons already. So I really relied on her input, and I really relied on her telling me how she feels. So if it felt like 11, we'd continue on with that style or that shape, and if it didn't feel like 11, we'd move on. For example, they tried skinny jeans and found that 11 needed a little bit of a bigger and bolder silhouette. The shirts really worked to give her those bold patterns because I think a girl who was used to getting hand-me-downs from Hopper and Mike would want to go in the opposite direction of like the dark blue, brown, plaid colors and go into like bright shapes and patterns. The shopping montage. The best rejects from those fittings with Millie went into the shopping montage at Starcourt Mall, so we could kind of see the process that went on behind the scenes as they tried to perfect 11's look. There were things that I didn't really like in the fitting that we put in the montage because it would be fun to see Millie's reaction if there were things that she didn't like, Paris says. The Glamour Studio photo shoot also allowed the team to pull out the brightest, weirdest, wildest 80s pieces that wouldn't make sense to use otherwise, since people in Hawkins are not yet the most fashionable despite the recent arrival of the mall. So the pieces that we knew wouldn't work for the show and for the background became the pieces for the montage and the Glamour Studio. So you can kind of see what it's really like when they're trying on clothing in the fitting as well. That Gap store was not, however, exactly accurate to a Gap store in 1985. It was a little bit simpler, Paris says of 1985 Gap. It wasn't as bright and patterned, not as punky, but to do a montage of Gap clothing back then would have been kind of less exciting. Paris says they went super bold for 11's big end of the season look with a shirt they made from scratch and then had to recreate multiple times. This look is a good example of the bigger silhouette they found worked best for 11. With that, we have come to the end of this colorful video. What do you think of the makeup, prosthetics, and wardrobe of the show? Feel free to leave a comment. Remember to come back for our next video. Until then, take care.